The Forgotten Echo. The galaxy was old, filled with empires that had risen and fallen. For millions of years, alien civilizations believed they were the true rulers of the stars. Their fleets covered countless systems, their archives stretched back farther than memory, and yet, there was always a shadow in their history. A warning, a silence too deliberate to ignore. Long ago, before the first alien dynasties built their thrones, before the star kingdoms carved borders in the void, there had been another power. They called it the Vanished Ones. Every record spoke of their unmatched strength, but no one dared to say their true name. Some said their weapons could split moons like glass. Others whispered that their armies were unstoppable, that even the cruelest empires had bent their knee before them. But the strangest part was this: one day, they disappeared. Not defeated, not erased by war. They simply vanished. The Council of Worlds always treated the tale as legend, something to keep young races afraid, a myth to explain old ruins scattered across distant sectors. And yet, some ruins did not match alien architecture. The stone was too precise, the metals too advanced, the carvings too strange. Entire cities, abandoned for 100,000 years, still pulsed faintly with energy. But none dared to study too deeply. The fear of awakening that ancient power lingered in every heart. The story begins when a small expedition ship, the Horizon, entered a forgotten system at the edge of mapped space. Its crew had been chasing rumors of derelict stations and hidden vaults. They were treasure seekers, not soldiers. But among them was one man, Elias. He was quiet, thoughtful, and carried eyes that seemed older than his age. He did not tell the others, but he had dreamed of this place since childhood. Every dream was the same: ruins beneath a crimson sky, symbols glowing with light, and a voice whispering, "Awaken." When the Horizon landed on the third planet, the crew expected nothing more than dust and broken metal, but what they found was breathtaking. Towers half buried in sand, still sharp against the horizon. Massive gates forged from alloys unknown to the galaxy. The walls carried strange markings, curves and letters that no alien tongue could speak. Elias touched the symbols, and for the first time in centuries, the ruins responded. Light spread from his hand, crawling across the ancient stone like veins of fire. The others panicked. Some screamed that they had cursed themselves, that the Vanished Ones would rise again, but Elias stood still, calm, as though he had been waiting for this moment. The gates opened, revealing a hall that stretched farther than any ship could measure. Inside were weapons, machines, and statues of tall figures. Unlike alien rulers with their scales, horns, or feathers, these statues showed beings with smooth faces, upright bodies, and fierce eyes. One alien crewmate whispered, "It cannot be. These are not myths. These are humans." The word struck the air like thunder. Few in the galaxy had heard it. In old archives it was forbidden to speak. The humans were said to be the lost power, the terror that had once ruled the stars. But how could one human, alive in this era, exist among aliens? How could Elias walk among them, hiding his bloodline all this time? As the crew argued, Elias stepped forward. The machines around him began to stir. Old metal groaned as if recognizing him. Lights burned brighter. A statue's eyes glowed. The others fled the hall, too afraid to stay, but Elias kept moving deeper. He did not understand why, but every step felt guided. It was as if the ruins were alive, calling to him. He reached a massive console at the center. Dust covered its surface, but as he placed his hand on it, the dust scattered. The machine came to life, projecting stars across the chamber. Entire galaxies spun in glowing light, and then the voice from his dreams returned. It whispered in a language no alien could hear, yet Elias understood every word. "The stars have forgotten us. The empires have grown arrogant, but the blood of humans endures. You are the echo of our power. You are the key to our return." The air shook, and alarms rang across distant fleets. Across the galaxy, hidden sensors awakened. Ancient warnings lit up in alien control rooms. Messages spread like fire through the empires. The humans are awakening. Panic struck rulers who had thought the stories were lies. Old warlords trembled. The Council of Worlds called for emergency sessions. For if humans truly returned, no fleet, no empire, no throne would stand unchallenged. And on that ruined planet, Elias looked up at the starlit map. He finally understood why the stars feared humans. They had not been monsters, nor conquerors alone. They had been something far greater, and now, through him, their power would rise again. But deep within the ruins, something else stirred. Machines too ancient for even Elias to control began to hum, and not all of them welcomed humanity's return. The fear, across the stars, the galaxy trembled the moment the ruins awakened. In distant star systems, long silent beacons lit with crimson light. Ancient alarms, never understood by their keepers, now screamed warnings that shook entire governments. Across trading hubs, military stations, and council halls, one word spread faster than light: humans. For centuries, the Council of Worlds had buried the truth. They called humans a myth, a story told to frighten children. But deep inside, every ruler knew the archives were not lies. The vanished ones had been real, and they had been unstoppable. And now, if they had returned, every throne was in danger. Inside the ruins, Elias stood still, staring at the galaxy map floating before him. His heart beat fast, but not with fear. It was strange. He felt something like recognition, as if the stars themselves had always belonged to him. The symbols shifted and reshaped, forming words only he could read. You are chosen. You are not alone. But his crew did not see beauty in the light. They saw doom. They gathered outside the hall, arguing in panic. They will destroy us all, one said, trembling. Do you not understand? The council forbids even speaking that name. If they learn what we found here, we will all be executed. Another pointed at Elias from the doorway. He is not one of us. He woke this place. He is human. Fear spread among them, and fear is dangerous. Some wanted to leave him behind. Others whispered of turning him over to the council for protection. Elias heard them all, but he said nothing. Instead, his eyes moved to the statue standing tall in the chamber. It was not a king or a soldier. It was something different, a guardian. Its armor shone as if freshly forged, though it had rested for thousands of years. In its hands was a weapon unlike anything Elias had ever seen, long, curved, and humming faintly with power. Then the ground shook. Deep within the ruins, machines awoke, releasing a sound like thunder. Heavy doors opened. Elias turned quickly, realizing that something else was rising from the shadows. It was not human. A towering construct stepped forward, made of black metal and glowing eyes. Its body was humanoid in shape, but twisted, wrong. The crew screamed and ran, but Elias stayed frozen, his breath sharp. The construct raised its arm, and the ruins shook again. Its voice was harsh, mechanical, ancient. Unauthorized presence detected. Humans are forbidden. The purge will continue. Elias felt his blood run cold. This machine was not a guardian. It was a warden, and its mission was not to protect humans but to destroy them. He leapt aside as a beam of energy struck the ground where he stood. The hall split open, rubble falling around him. He ran, his hand brushing against the glowing console. As he touched it, symbols flared again. The construct paused as though confused. The voice returned in Elias's mind. The old war has not ended. They still fear us. They still try to erase us. You must survive. The crew outside screamed for him to run. He rushed through the crumbling halls, chased by the massive warden. Every wall seemed to open or close for him, guiding his path. The ruins were alive, helping him escape. Finally, he burst out into the red desert. The alien crew stood at the ship's ramp, terror in their eyes. Some reached out to him, others shouted to leave him behind. The warden stepped out of the ruins, towering against the blood-red sky. Its eyes locked on Elias. Before it could strike again, the sand beneath it erupted. A colossal structure rose from beneath the desert, an entire fortress hidden underground. Towers of black and silver metal climbed into the sky, shaking the ground. The warden turned, distracted. Elias stumbled aboard the horizon. The ship's engines roared, lifting it into the air. From the window they all watched the ancient fortress reveal itself. But it was not only a ruin, it was waking. Lights spread across its surface like fire, and a deep hum filled the air. The aliens whispered in horror. "It's true. The humans built this. The humans ruled this. And now, it returns." As the horizon rose into orbit, other signals lit across the stars. Fleets across the galaxy detected the awakening. Leaders trembled. Armies prepared for war. But not all voices called for fear. Some young races, long crushed under alien rule, saw this as hope. They whispered that if humans returned, maybe the tyrants of the galaxy could finally fall. In his cabin, Elias sat alone, staring at his hands. He was not just a man. He was something more. And now every empire knew he existed. The galaxy would come for him. But deep inside he felt no fear, only purpose. For the stars had forgotten what humans were. But soon they would remember. The hunters of the galaxy. The awakening of the fortress spread like fire across the stars. Every major empire received the same signal. Humans had stirred. For centuries, rulers had silenced that word, burying the truth in forbidden archives. Now, no silence could protect them. On the council world of Reiner, the lords of empires gathered in panic. Some were tall and scaled, their golden eyes burning with fear. Others were winged, their feathers shivering in unease. The chamber rang with argument. "They cannot return," one shouted. "They were destroyed," another claimed. But an old lord, his voice cracked and heavy, leaned forward and whispered the truth none wished to hear. They were never destroyed. They chose to vanish, and now they have chosen to rise. Orders went out across fleets. Armadas moved. Bounties were announced. Whoever found the human first would bring him to the council, dead or alive. Aboard the horizon, the crew argued bitterly. The alien navigator slammed his claws against the table. "He is dangerous. If the council learns we helped him, they will kill us all." The pilot, trembling, whispered, "But he saved us in the ruins. He is not a monster. He is just one man." Elias listened in silence. He could feel their fear pressing down on him like weight. Yet something inside him had changed since touching the console. He no longer felt small. He no longer felt ordinary. His mind was filled with flashes, images of ships that could tear apart fleets, armies marching in formation, and voices speaking in unison. "We are humanity, the fire of the stars." He realized these were not just dreams. And they were memories, not his own but the memories of his kind, stored in the ruins, waiting to awaken in him. Suddenly, alarms blared across the horizon. A fleet had found them. Dozens of alien ships locked onto their location. On the main screen, the crew saw dark cruisers forming a blockade. They were known as the Dravos Hunters, mercenaries who served the Council. Ruthless, merciless, and feared in every sector. A message came through. The alien commander's voice was cold. "Surrender the human. Do so, and your lives will be spared." The crew froze. All eyes turned to Elias. Some wanted to obey. Others shook their heads, whispering that handing him over would not save them. Elias rose slowly. "They will kill you even if you surrender me. They fear not just me. They fear what I will awaken. They cannot allow witnesses." The crew knew he was right. The Dravos did not leave survivors. The blockade closed in. Energy beams charged. The horizon had no chance against them. But then the fortress below stirred again. Its towers glowed, and with a sudden burst, beams of light shot into the sky. They struck the Dravos ships, tearing through shields as if they were paper. Cruisers exploded in fire, one after another. The blockade collapsed in chaos. The crew stared in shock. "The fortress. It defends him." Elias felt the voice return inside his mind. The enemy still fears us. They hunt you because they remember. But you are not ready. You must learn why we vanished. Only then will you understand your true power. The fortress projected coordinates onto the Horizon's console, an ancient archive hidden far across the galaxy. Elias knew this was the next step. If he wanted answers, he had to go there. The pilot hesitated. If we follow those coordinates, every fleet in the galaxy will chase us. You are leading us into war. Elias looked at him with steady eyes. The war has already begun. I did not choose this. But if humanity truly vanished by choice, I must know why. And if I left me here, then I was meant to finish what they started. The crew exchanged fearful glances. Yet in their eyes, something else stirred, a spark. For in that moment, Elias did not seem like a man running from death. He seemed like a leader. Far away, in hidden chambers of the council, another voice spoke. Not an alien lord, not a soldier, but a shadow, a secret order that had lived since the day humans vanished. They were the Wardens, sworn to ensure humanity never returned. The Warden's leader watched the images of the ruined fortress and whispered, "It begins again. The human must not reach the archives. If he does, the galaxy will burn." New hunters were sent, stronger and deadlier than before. They would not simply kill Elias. They would erase every trace of him and every ship that sheltered him. Back aboard the Horizon, Elias looked once more at the stars, the ruins, the memories, the awakening fortress. All of it was leading him towards something larger. He was not only a survivor, he was the last key of humanity. But as the stars stretched ahead, he knew one thing clearly. The galaxy would not let him live long enough to find the truth. And yet deep inside he whispered to himself, "Let them come, let them fear, for they have forgotten what humans are." The secret of the archives. The Horizon drifted through silent space, far from the fortress that had saved them. The crew was shaken, whispering in fear of what they had witnessed. Whole fleets had fallen in moments, not by human hands, but by machines left behind, still faithful to their vanished masters. Elias sat in the command chair, his gaze fixed on the endless stars. He was not the same man who had stepped into those ruins. He carried fragments of memories, whispers of battles fought long before his birth, and shadows of choices humanity had made before it disappeared. The coordinates burned bright on the console. They pointed toward a system few dared to enter, an empty region spoken of only in hushed tones. They called it the Grave of Empires. Ships that entered rarely returned. But Elias felt no fear, only purpose. The journey was long, and in every shadow, hunters waited. The Dravos mercenaries had failed, but others would not. On the second day, a swarm of sleek interceptors appeared, firing without warning. The Horizon shook under their assault. The crew screamed, rushing to weapons. "We cannot outrun them," the navigator cried. "They are faster, stronger." Elias closed his eyes. The fragments inside his mind stirred again, showing him patterns, tactics, paths of survival. His voice cut through the chaos. "Turn 30 degrees to the black star. Hold shields until they overload, then dive." The pilot obeyed, though fear shook his hands. The Horizon twisted into the star's shadow. The hunters followed, confident in victory. But Elias's plan unfolded like clockwork. The star's gravity pulled them into chaos, their formations breaking. 2 collided in flame, 3 more were dragged into the black star's pull. The Horizon slipped free, battered but alive. The crew stared at Elias with new eyes. He was no longer just the man who had woken ruins. He was guiding them with knowledge no living being should possess. At last they reached the system. Before them drifted a world unlike any they had seen, shattered, broken, a corpse of a planet split into pieces. Between the fragments floated vast structures, black and silver, half alive and humming with ancient energy. The archive. The Horizon descended into the wreckage. A vast chamber opened, pulling them in as if the planet itself welcomed Elias. When the ship landed, he stepped out alone, though the crew begged him not to. Inside the archive, silence reigned. Towers of crystal reached into darkness filled with endless streams of light. When Elias touched one, voices poured into his mind, millions of voices, all human. He fell to his knees as vision struck him. He saw humans standing tall, their fleets filling the skies. Entire empires bowed before them. They were not tyrants, not monsters, but guardians. They had brought order, unity, and peace to the stars. Yet the stars had feared them. Their strength was too great, their knowledge too deep. He saw betrayal, alien rulers, fearful of humanity's rise, joining together in secret war. Endless fleets crashed against human lines, but none could break them. Humanity was unstoppable. And then, the choice. Elias saw the final council of humankind, voices heavy with sorrow. If we continue, we will become tyrants. If we remain, the galaxy will never grow beyond our shadow. They will hate us forever. We must step away. So they did the unthinkable. Humanity vanished willingly. Their armies deactivated, their cities buried, their people scattered into hidden worlds. They erased themselves from the stars to give others a chance to rise. The vision ended. Elias gasped, his body trembling. The truth was both beautiful and terrifying. Humans had not been destroyed. They had chosen exile, knowing the galaxy would never accept their power. But now, he understood why the empires feared his return. They had told the story differently. They had erased the choice and replaced it with a lie, that humans had been monsters defeated by unity. He rose slowly, staring at the glowing crystals. You gave up everything, but the galaxy twisted your memory into terror. A voice answered in his mind, the voice of the archive itself. And now, the stars have fallen into corruption. The empires that feared us have become what they once accused us of being. That is why you remain, to remind them. Outside, alarms be lard. The crew shouted for Elias. Dozens of ships had entered the system. Not just hunters, but fleets. Council warships, dark and massive, weapons glowing. The wardens had arrived. Elias stepped out of the archive, his eyes burning with purpose. They fear the truth. They fear what we were, but they cannot erase us again. The ground shook as ancient machines awoke around the archive. Towers lit with fire. Weapons older than any empire turned to face the fleets above. The battle for the truth had begun. The return of the forgotten fire. The skies above the archive burned with light. Hundreds of ships filled orbit, weapons primed, their commanders shouting for vengeance. The wardens had come in force, sworn to bury humanity forever. On the ground, the horizon shook with fear. The crew huddled inside, whispering in panic as the fleet's shadows stretched across the broken planet. They will kill us all, the navigator whispered. They will burn the archive. They will burn everything. But Elias stood outside, the ruins glowing around him. His eyes were steady, his body trembling not from fear but from the weight of memory. The voices of his people still echoed in his mind, millions strong. They whispered to him as one, we chose silence, but now we rise. The first salvo struck. Blue beams rained from orbit, tearing into the planet's surface. Explosions shook the air, dust rising in storms. The archive trembled, but it did not fall. Its towers awoke fully, projecting a shield of blazing light. Elias lifted his hand and the shield pulsed brighter. It was not technology alone, it was connection. The archive had recognized him. It obeyed him. From the ground, massive structures rose, war machines forged long ago, titans of metal, taller than mountains, their eyes blazing with fire. The fleet above hesitated. Even in their arrogance, they felt fear. One warden commander snarled, "Destroy them all. Humanity will not return." The order was given. The fleet unleashed its fury. The sky became fire. Missiles streaked downward. The titans roared up war. Ancient weapons of impossible power lit the darkness, tearing through alien cruisers like glass. Whole squadrons vanished in seconds, their wreckage scattering across the stars. Yet the wardens did not retreat. More ships arrived, more waves of death. They feared nothing more than Elias reaching the truth of his people. Inside the horizon, the pilot gripped the controls. "We cannot stay here. The fleet is endless. They will kill him." But the engineer shook his head. "Look at him. He is not dying. He is awakening." Elias stood amid the storm, his body glowing faintly, as if the archive itself flowed through him. He felt every Titan move as though they were his own limbs. He saw every ship above, their weapons, their weaknesses, their fear. He spoke, and the machines answered. "Rise." The Titans unleashed their fury, a symphony of destruction. Beams cut through fleets, shields collapsed, ships scattered. For every Titan that fell, two more rose, summoned from the ruins of the shattered world. But even as the battle turned, Elias felt the weight of choice. He saw what humans had seen long ago. Their power was too great. Left unchecked, they could crush every empire, rule every star. Was he to repeat the same path, or to find a new one? The archive whispered, "Do not repeat. Remember why we vanished. Power is not purpose. Purpose is balance." Elias raised his voice, not only to his crew but to the galaxy itself. He knew the fleets were listening, their channels wide open, fear gripping their hearts. "You call us monsters, you call us tyrants, but it was not your fear that erased us. It was our choice. We stepped away so you could rise, and yet you chose corruption. You chose war. You chose to twist the truth." The fleets hesitated. Commanders froze at their stations, his words echoing across the stars. "I am not here to conquer. I am here to remind you. Humanity is not your doom. We are your mirror. We show you what you fear in yourselves." His words struck deeper than weapons. Some ships faltered, retreating. Others lowered their arms, their commanders uncertain. But the wardens roared in fury. Their leader appeared on the screen, his eyes burning with hate. "Lies! You are disease. You will be cut from the stars." Elias's gaze did not falter. "You cannot cut what you are. For every empire born in fear, there is humanity waiting to rise again." With that, the archive surged one final time. Light brighter than suns burst across the system, disarming the Warden fleet. Their weapons went silent, their power drained. The Titans stood tall, undefeated. The battle ended not with annihilation, but with silence. Across the galaxy, news spread faster than any fleet. The human was real. The archive was awake. The truth was spoken. And for the first time in ages, the rulers trembled, not just in fear, but in shame. On the horizon, the crew stared at Elias. He was no longer just a man. He was the living echo of an ancient choice, the reminder of what humans had been and what they could be again. But Elias only looked at the stars. He knew this was not an ending. It was a beginning. The empires would not stop. The wardens would rise again. And others, oppressed and broken, would look to him for hope. He whispered softly to himself and to the countless voices within him. The fire of humanity never died. It only waited. And now, the stars will remember.